All right, we're live. We are live.
Second week, baby.
Yeah, you still around too.
Oh yeah.
Both our coaches are still around.
We're gonna be around for a little while.
Will you be around after Friday? Is the question.
Yeah.
We ain't going nowhere. We ain't
going nowhere.
Okay, we got a whole lot of high school football to talk about. But Gary, I got to ask you about the Panthers move today. The quarterback came up with a sore shoulder. Is that a real injury, imagined injury? And what do you think about them potentially signing Matt Barkley?
That's a Ben Simmons injury.
Something wrong with Gary.
What can I say to keep this guy from embarrassing us any further and ruining his psyche? Matt Barkley doesn't bring anything in the short term because he's got to learn the offense.
Right.
I think he's there for emergency purposes until he can learn maybe 30-40% of the offense. And so we're going to be with PJ Walker for a while. But this is an indictment on the Panthers front office for passing up a quarterback in the first round. And not only passing up a quarterback, but passing up offensive linemen in the first 2 rounds. So this is an indictment of their front office.
Yeah. Grice, any thoughts there before we start talking about high school football?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think that, it's a situation. Once you go down a direction, I mean, you're stuck now. So, Sam Darnold, Barkley, I don't think you're in that direction. I mean, again.
They owe Sam Darnold $18 million next year.
Woo!
Yeah. All right, Chris, let's go right into it. The 1A football playoffs. Let's go.
All right, we missed several of the top teams playing last Friday night because of the multiple number of opening round byes. So it'll be our first opportunity to see most of the higher seeds play some football Friday. In fact, I think some of them are even going to be played Thursday. I saw a couple Eastern games being moved up. I guess there's some rain to worry about. But anyway, there you see the number 1 team in the West. Eastern Randolph taking on Drone. Should be cruise sailing for Burton Cates and guys. I am intrigued by that matchup, though. Murphy going to Mountain Heritage. If we remember correctly, both of these teams made the state championships in the spring season. Murphy, obviously, in the 1A, Heritage in the 2A, albeit they got beat pretty bad. But still, it's a good game. Not too many major matchups in the West, so to speak. The Cherokee at Robbinsville is interesting because Cherokee did beat Robbinsville several weeks ago. And then just looking there at the east side of the bracket, I still think that all roads go through Tarboro and Northside. Northampton, I am going to give a little bit of an eye on them because they're a really good football team. But I think that the cream will certainly rise to the top in the 1A East.
All right. Well, let's now. Any thoughts on that, Grice, before I put up the rankings?
Hobson's going to score a lot of points, Guru. I think Northside will be good, but
that game is Thursday night. Part of me wants to drive 4 hours out to see it. And you guys know me well enough to know that I might just do that. But I don't know.
Will.
I'm tempted. If I wasn't busy, I'd hop in the car with you. I'm ready to see what Salas.
I know, and I'm sure Dale does too. I know about every good barbecue joint on the way out there to the beach.
Well, the good thing is
that vinegar sauce, I'm eating with you. Let's talk about the rankings, Chris. What we got?
Well, hold on a second, because Chris needs to understand he needs to make that trip up there Friday. If he comes Thursday, he said, "Oh, if you guys win, I might come to that Kings Mountain."
I'm gonna get the 3A, Sam. Just hold on.
I will be there.
I'm talking about Chris driving.
Let's go, Chris. 1A rankings. What we got?
I drive. Come on. 1A, there you see, no surprise, not very many changes whatsoever from the previous few weeks. Mountain Island Charter did stick around even at 9-1. I mean, until you start seeing maybe some of these lower tier teams that maybe knock off some of the top tier teams, I still like seeing them being represented in there. But, you got them top 2 or 3 teams right up top, Eastern Randolph, Mount Airy, Tarboro, and Northside, who I think are the cream of the crop, and Mitchell as well. And maybe Robbinsville, but after then, I think it goes downhill.
All right. So you think the road goes through Tarboro, but Tarborough's not number one.
I do. I mean, again, there's parts of me that could see some of these other teams, maybe Southside, maybe Northampton. But again, I know that Northside's what they are, and I guess when I say it's got to go through Tarboro, it may not go through Viking Stadium, but I still think Tarboro is the ultimate favorite, especially now that there's no subdivided playoffs.
All right. Well, Chris noticed an interesting thing happening online with high school football players. And so instead of having a taped 60 seconds, we're going to let him have a little live 60 seconds and let you guys jump in on it.
I had a couple phone calls come through and 2 text messages from 2 pretty respected coaches that I know that was asking me what they should do about how they should talk about a situation tactfully without necessarily talking about a young man or talking about or singling out any players. But I did some research on this, and it's really nothing that's new. It's something that has happened for many, many years. But anyway, guys, and I think this is mostly parents. I don't know that a lot of coaches are in on this, but if there's a coach that's doing this, you know what, I'm going to say it right now, shame on you. But there has been some instances this offseason and certainly in previous years to where coaches are going into some conference meetings for all conference teams, or parents sending ballots or sending nominations out to some of the media outlets around the state, sending information out to some colleges stating that their player had buku numbers of yardage, when you could really do the homework and go look at it and look at the results of the team and realize that something just doesn't add up. So, I just think that falsifying or just flat out lying and saying that you had big time numbers trying to send your info to try to get on an all Greensboro or an all Fayetteville team, I just think that is something that is atrocious. And it also, we think back several years ago, there have been several nationally publicized events where you had players that just pulled the wool over everyone's eyes and held their own National Signing Day ceremony when everybody knew that kid didn't go. They made it up. They made people think they were going somewhere. And that takes me back to the interview that Langston and I had with NC State coach Dave Dorn about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And Dave Dorn got on there and he kind of touched on this. He said, you know what? We're going to take players. We're going to go look at every kid's film. We're going to really dissect what they can do. We're going to find out whether they're a good football player or not. He says you can be the most publicized and very well marketed player out there. But if you can't play football, we're going to find it out. And I think that just these falsification of numbers and really just flat out misrepresenting yourself, I just think that's a really bad thing in football these days.
All right, guys, you heard it from the guru. Give me your thoughts, Alex.
Above all else, we need to realize that while the falsification of statistics is just beyond atrocious all the way around, that responsibility ultimately has to be placed on colleges and universities involved in the recruiting processes. Everyone knows that I'm not a huge fan of some of these combines and the satellite camps and all these other cesspools of iniquity, which undermine education-based athletics and move us further away from what is supposed to be the prevailing mission and our ability to proliferate that prevailing mission of education-based athletics and expedites the ruination of education-based athletics. Everyone knows how I feel about that. But ultimately, what it comes down to is it's the responsibility of these colleges and universities to do their research. You can run or pass or catch for 10,000 yards in your career and not be able to play. These schools have to do their homework. Right. The fact that people have settled in to a comfort zone with whatever shows up from this combine or this satellite camp or what we see on paper or this, that, or whatever, or however many stars somebody has. I mean, if you want to know somebody can't play football or basketball or any sport for that matter, let them show up at one of these cesspools of iniquity and be rated with 0 stars. Because sooner or later, if you get 0 stars, you really can't play, because you're going to get at least 1 star once your parent writes a check to somebody. So college,
that is true. That is true in some cases.
Get on these.
Sam, as a coach, would you notice if one of your players was on max prep saying he had 1,500 yards receiving and your quarterback had 600 yards passing? Would you notice something like that?
Oh yeah, you would notice something like that. You don't have access to max preps anyways, unless it's given by a head coach. The thing is this, recruiting wise, I'll tell everybody this: stats do not get you in college. The tape does. Your academics do. The eye test does. Those 3 things. You got to have those 3 things. The eye test, you got to look the part. You got to be the part on the film, and you got to have the grades to back it up. Stats have never came into play. Like, oh, you know what? Let's go after this guy that threw for 4,000 yards instead of the guy that threw for 2,100 yards. It means absolutely nothing.
Dale, before we move on, I just want to get your thoughts here. What do you think?
Any coach that's involved in falsifying numbers.
Not a coach, a kid.
Well, if kids, okay, so any kid, those are too easy to find out. Langston, I don't know what to say. Kids will do anything. They're led by an adult to do it, though. Somewhere an adult's helping to guide them in what they should be put, or what they want them to put out there, be it a parent, an uncle, a bigger brother. Somebody's helping them along with doing this. How do you stop it? You gotta cause somebody grief. They gotta understand that there's consequences to that kind of falsification, which means embarrassment. But that's got to go back to their coaches. If it's their coaches have got to address that.
I mean, I've seen kids use other people's highlights for their own highlights before. Right. It's like, man,
that's tough.
But when they look at you, Sam, when the one thing that my son learned when he was recruited, and they looked at him, and it was NC State, and they looked at his size, and they said, well, you don't have the size to play the position that you play in high school. And then they wanted to hold off until they saw me. And then when they saw me, and they're like, well, how tall is your wife? And I said, she's shorter than me. They had all the information they needed. They knew he was as tall as he was going to get. So you're right. That eye test plays a lot. Those metrics are huge in this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got somebody on here right now. I know he's not fudging on his stats. We got my man Brock Morgan of A.L. Brown. What's going on, sir?
How's it going?
So tell us about the season, how things went for you this year over in Kannapolis.
Personally, I feel like I had a good season. I just heard you guys talking about stats a little bit ago. I got on the phone with my coach before this call, making sure everything was updated. I had 10 games, 13 tackles for a loss, 71 solo tackles, and 105 total tackles. Personally, I feel like I did well. I exceeded my own expectations. But as a team, I definitely think that we were better than our record. We didn't make the playoffs. We finished at 5-5.
Yeah, how tough is it to have to sit at home and watch us and watch people talk about playoffs, have playoff games, and you don't get to play, especially senior year? It's got to be tough.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely tough. But I definitely feel like I enjoyed the moment. This past season was definitely something that I'll remember for a lifetime, and I'm optimistic that I'll have another season to prepare for.
Absolutely. Well, one championship you can win, you can beat Sam Greiner tonight on the game show and get that championship.
Brock, a lot of people try, a lot of people fail, brother.
Thank
you. Hear that?
He looks confident.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
He got like a whole computer in front of him to ask the question.
All right,
he got like a whole little setup.
Put some multiple choice questions on the board. You're going to answer. Sam's going to answer, and whoever wins gets the championship. Sam's his little win streak got broken last week.
No, it did not. I did not lose. I did not lose last week.
You didn't win either. There we go.
Brother,
to be the man.
I'm not MJ, just Coach Greiner, but I'm the GOAT of the game show.
saying? To be the man, you got to beat the man. Is that what you're saying?
No, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Yeah, and I haven't been beaten in a while, so don't try me like that, Langston.
All right, Brock, let's beat him. Brock, you have the first answer, so you're on first. Here we go, Dale.
Okay. With a sequel to the 1984 movie coming out, Ray Parker Jr.'s theme song from the original returned to the top 100 charts this week. What's the name of the song? A, Jack and Jill. B, Dune. C, Friday the 13th. D, Ghostbusters.
Wait a minute, we just lost Brock.
Got a little bit of old in you here.
He had to go to Google.
He had to go get the answer.
He had to go to Google. I told you, you didn't see his setup. The boy had a computer. He'd been typing away. I can hear him typing.
No.
That is the
Type
first
the
on
question
the show.
quick.
That's the first on the show.
Hey, the shirtless, the shirt, the sleeveless shirt.
He can play you upside down.
Brock, Sam said you had to get up and go look at Google.
No, sir. My internet failed on me. I said C, Friday the 13th.
Friday 13th. Samuel, what you got?
I'm gonna go D, Ghostbusters.
It is Ghostbusters.
Mm.
Sam is up 1-0, so he definitely didn't go to Google.
He definitely didn't go to go. He
definitely
didn't
didn't
have
go
to
to
do the
Google
right way.
while he was away. All right, we're going to go to question 2. And Gary is in today for Chelsea, who has some school things going on. And Gary is up when I get the question. Here we go, Gary.
Okay. North Carolina State has beaten Florida State in 4 of the past 5 meetings. Before that, State lost 4 straight. Who was State's starting QB in the 17-16 win in 2012 when the Pack upset the then-ranked number 3 Seminoles? A, Russell Wilson. B, Mike Glennon. C, Tyler Brosius. D, Garrett Latham.
Samuel.
That's a great question right there.
I bet Dale knows the answer to this question.
I remember the game.
I'm gonna go B, Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon. What you got, Brock?
I'm gonna go with Garrett Latham.
Garrett Latham. The answer is B. And Brock, you gotta stage a wonder comeback.
That boy, I'm telling you, look. Mason tried me earlier. I'm just letting you know, boy, different level right now. Let's go.
You just lucky.
Oh my! I don't believe in no luck. You know that.
Sam's in playoff mode.
Playoff mode, baby.
You just lucky. That's all. All right.
Sam
Dale.
baby.
Here we go.
One of the most popular women's pro wrestlers today also was a district basketball camp in high school and was all Atlantic Sun in college at Jacksonville. What's her stage name? Jade Cargill. B, Bianca Belair. C, Britt Baker. D, Charlotte Flair.
All right, Brock, I need you, man. Come on, what you got?
I'll go with Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte Flair. Samuel, what you got?
I'm gonna try to go old local too. I'm gonna go Charlotte Flair as well.
Oh, he's in the 4 corners. You're both wrong. The answer is Jade Cargill.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that right. My other guess.
She's an AEW. She's gonna be an absolute star. She's really, really good. Shaquille O'Neal's kind of taking her under his wing. Okay, Gary is up with the next question. Let me get loaded up. Here we go, Gary.
All right. Kobe Bryant was an initial investor in the sports drink for $6 million in 2013. Coca-Cola bought 70% of the company for $5.6 billion, netting Kobe Bryant's estate $400 million. What is the name of the beverage that Kobe Bryant invested in?
That's a good one.
A, vitamin water.
Oh, Sam.
B, Powerade, C, body armor, D, smart water.
All right, Samuel, you're up.
I'm gonna go C, body armor.
C, body armor. What you got, Brock?
I'll go with A, vitamin water.
Yeah.
It is C, body armor. And Kobe's family made a mint on that investment. That was one heck of an investment. All right, last question is. Oh, I like this question. Dale has this one. Let me find it. Sam will not get this one right. Here we go, Dale.
Every time I see Chuck E. Cheese, I think about Chuck a Model. That's not a good thing, but anyway. What does the E in Chuck E. Cheese stand for? A, Ernest, B, Edward, C, entertainment, D, extra.
Brock, you're up.
I'll go with B, Edward.
B, Edward. Samuel.
I think the answer is A, Ernest.
The answer is C, entertainment.
Which is what Mr. Amato was.
Man, that was
I
tough.
told you would not get that one right.
Hey, 3-0, baby. That's all I want to know.
Yeah, you got a little weak up today. I give you that one. But Brock, man, so what's on your plate for the rest of the school year? What you got going on?
Right now, my biggest goal is just continuing to finish senior year and continue to be inside of this recruitment process. Some schools I've heard from are Davidson, Howard, and Guilford. And then obviously, just going through it, going on recruit visits. I went to North Carolina Central this past Saturday, just making sure to get out and see all I can see, so that way when it's time to make a decision, I'm well aware of what I'm up against.
Sam, what kind of advice would you give this young man?
Trust Mike Newsom. He's one of the best at helping people get to college. I think he's the best there is at helping young people get to college. So really trust his advice. And obviously you're a smart kid if Davidson's looking at you and whatnot. So very happy for you doing your academic portion. Alex would be very proud on the other end.
Thank you.
Davidson be a great spot, man. He'll get you a big old job when you get out of school. Well, look, Brock, thanks for coming on, man. Best of luck to you. Keep in touch and hope you get a chance to play next year in college.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good luck,
right, man. Take care.
Grace, there's something wrong in the background. What's wrong, Grace? I didn't hear him say that. The thing's so choppy, man. I know
Howard is a good university. Yeah,
I know Howard's a good one. Something wrong with Grace.
They protesting up at Howard about the dorms. I don't know about that one.
I mean, that's another problem. But yeah.
Davidson's a good spot, though. All right, let's talk private school football. I'm staying on point. Gary, anything jump out at you about Division II? We talked about Country Day last week. They won. Now they got to go to Harold's Christian. Then you got Cabarrus Warriors and Metroline on the other side. What do you see there, if anything?
I'm gonna go with the teams that are 10-1. I haven't seen any of them play, so I figure if you win 10 games, you must be pretty good. And it's at their home, so I'm looking at the teams that are at home.
Alex is laughing really hard. Come on, Alex. Tell me what you got.
Alex,
some insight on Harold, so tell me what you know. You're on mute, though, Alex.
If you win 10 games, you must be pretty good.
Yeah.
Back in the 2002-2003 women's basketball season, there were a lot of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools that won 10 games and then had to run into the school formerly known as Zebulon B. Vance High School. And let's see, who was the coach of that team? I forgot his name. Yeah, there were a lot of people who won 10 games before they played Gary Richmond's team and got exposed.
Is anybody going to take Country Day to upset Harold's Christian?
I'll take
them in a heartbeat.
I'm gonna take the Warriors and Country Day. I think both of them.
I'll agree. Quarterback for the Warriors.
Yep. That'd be a major upset. Country Day has won the Division II title in the past. All right, Sam, let's go to Division I. Latin has to go play Rabun Gap. Rabun Gap beat Latin 38-3 before. Is there anything Latin can do differently to go back to Rabun Gap and turn it around?
Yeah, pray for a lot of turnovers. That's about the only way, to be honest with you. That's a big spread. That's hard to come back from. Raven Gap's got a lot of confidence. I can see them two going against Providence Day and them as a rematch, and I think that'll be a great championship game.
All right, well, tell me about Charlotte Christian playing Providence Day. I think this is a rematch of a semifinal a year ago.
Providence Day is really good this year. I think Charlotte Christian will have a chance in this game more than Latin does in Raven Gap, just because of the coaching staff at Charlotte Christian. They do such a phenomenal job of adjusting and correcting things. It's hard to beat them twice. That's definitely for sure. But I still think Providence Day is victorious.
Bryce, any thoughts
should be in good shape as long as they don't get distracted by Charlotte Christian.
Bryce, any thoughts on that game?
Oh, I can't wait. That's one of those games, if I didn't have my own business to attend to, I'd go. Just a little reminder, in the regular season, it was 48-47 in overtime. That's right. A game you want to bring your points. You want to make sure you're in the stands for that one. I wouldn't leave early at all either.
Chris.
I didn't realize we're playing basketball already.
Get on D.
You're on mute, Chris.
Oh, he was giving a great take, too.
He was giving a great take.
I know that we've talked a lot about Grant Logan at Providence Day, and I think he's really come on. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the private ranks. But I'm on that D2 bracket. I really like Cabarrus. I think the Cabarrus Warriors have done a phenomenal job. They've got one of them super sophomores in Tyler Green at quarterback. Yeah. And they trounced Concord, who, by the way, is playing in the second round of the Big 3A or the 3A playoffs. So don't sleep on that Warriors team. I think they're pretty good.
Yes, Damian Jackson giving Tyler Green some love out there, and I think that's on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook world. So Tyler Green's getting
alumni. Tyler Green.
Yeah, he's been an Observer Player of the Week in the past. All right, Guru, we're gonna jump to the 2A pairings here. What you got?
Well, it gets real this week. There's no doubt about that. Got a lot of big time games really on both sides of the bracket, both East and West. That Polk County Shelby game, it'll be good for a while, but I still think Shelby is ultimately one of the top 2 or 3 best teams in the state. Like Shelby's chances. That Forest Hills East Gaston game may be the most entertaining. I mean, these are 2 really good teams. I picked against East Gaston last week. Forest Hills this week, though, I don't know. I think that's just a 50-50 game. Hard to pick either way. But that Burns and Hendersonville game will be phenomenal. If I was not going to be at West Charlotte, that's one of the games that I would probably consider going. Chase at Reedsville, again, 2 heavyweights going at it. We know about Marquise McCombs. I think that they're going to need him and then some. And they got the top interceptor in the country as well. I think they're going to be pretty good against Reedsville, but Reedsville obviously is ultimately Reedsville and has won about 32 games in a row. Like them in this game. West Lincoln and Maiden, that was a close game a few weeks back. Bunker Hill at Salisbury, I just don't see Bunker Hill getting through there. Jay Robinson at Monroe's another phenomenal game that I could see. I think Monroe's going to win, but I can see it going either way. Looking at the other side, the game that really sticks out at me is Holmes and Northeastern. I think that those are 2 teams that played. They're in the same conference, big-time rivals. I think that'll be a good game. Other than that, Clinton at East Duplin, that's big-time traditional Eastern powers. But other than that, just the mammoth games in that 2A ranks in the West.
Yeah, Chris, you took a lot of stuff on social media about your picks, and you still had it like 85% correct. I'm just curious, if you were to pick right now, who's coming out of the East and who's coming out of the West? Just looking at this right now, who would be your picks?
I'm still sticking with what I put in my initial bracket. Again, it could change, and it very well may change. But the reason I picked the teams I picked is because of how the brackets shape out, and there's a harder side and an easier side. But I'm still sticking with Burns and St. Paul's.
Ooh, Burns and Shelby having to hook up somewhere along the line. That's going to shut
Burns
down.
and Shelby played an overtime 2-point game about 3 weeks ago.
That's going to shut down Cleveland County.
It could always go the other way.
All right, let's talk about the 2A rankings. Let me get them up. And speaking of Burns and Shelby, Chris, what you got here?
Well, not a lot of change from the previous weeks. Reedsville, Shelby, Salisbury. Salisbury had 4 defensive and special teams touchdowns before their offense even hit the field against North Forsyth Friday night. Northeastern's right there. Whiteville, they're going to make some noise. Maiden has been solid all year long. St. Paul's, I still like them in the East. Monroe's right there. Again, big-time game. Hendersonville, Princeton, that single wing, fun-looking football. I don't know how far they're going to get with it. And then, if we were to go to a number 11, you would see Burns right there.
I was just about to say,
like, you think Burns going to make a state championship? I know.
I think it's a testament to how close to 2A is, but it's also a testament to just how stacked those brackets are. I'm not necessarily saying Burns is the best team. I just think the bracket comes out a little bit more favorable for them.
I got you.
Okay.
So, Grace, if we were power ranking the classifications, I know you like 4A in the Fight Club. Is 2A second?
2A is right behind, and 2A might almost eclipse it. I mean, 2A is there. It's just such a tough bracket. I mean, you look at a Reedsville, a Shelby. I mean, he doesn't even have, East Surrey on here that came up from 1A. They're 10-0 and have a great shot to get there too. So, I mean, you've got a lot of good teams in this 2A division, and I mean, it's exciting for me. I love it.
No,
I just think North Carolina football in general is great right now. Like, it's really good football across the board.
Yeah, I agree. All right, it's time to go to Fresh Space and see who the Guru and the Grice picked out this week.
All right, Coach Grice, it's that time of week again. I think it's both of our favorite segments, Fresh Faces. Let's go ahead and hit it, brother.
Definitely, let's do it.
All right. Hey, let's bring up our first young player here from across the state that we're going to highlight this week. Had a big performance on Friday night. Let's look at the film. Eastern Alamance. They're one of my teams. I think it's going to go deep. Wide receiver Devin Clark had 6 catches, 158 yards, and 2 touchdowns in their Friday playoff performance.
Oh, it's big time ball there. And I think one of the big things I like with seeing Devin is, he's not a guy that just, goes and bubbles. I mean, you saw that great dig route there. It's a situation he was able to snap his route off perfectly there, make a big catch, and it'd be a big target for his quarterback to get the ball to. So, we see Eastern Alamance, having big wins, looking like they're primed for a long playoff run. Devin seems to be a prime reason why that they're going to be, have a lot of success and do well here. So good to see him already start off well. Let's hope he can keep it going.
Yeah, Devin Clark's leading that John Kirby coach team. They're playing Havelock Friday night. It seems like they've played Havelock 100 times in the last 20 years in the playoffs. Those two teams always just seem to be head-to-head. I'm sure he'll have a big-time game. Let's move on now next to our next fresh face. And we just got a graphic right here of Rajon Jackson. He is a big, explosive body in a small package, a small body or a big explosion in a small body. But what can we talk about him, Coach?
I mean, again, 19th in the nation in kick returns and tops in North Carolina, averaging over 34 yards. I mean, a guy 5'4", 125. I mean, he's probably hard to get down. And I mean, he uses that lack of size, his diminutive size, to his advantage and is able to be successful. So a guy that's doing big things out here, in that third phase of the game, it's so important. And having a guy that excels at it can be a real backbreaker for teams, especially as we get in the playoffs.
All right, moving on here, Fresh Faces. We're going to go to the kicker for Charlotte Latin High School, Dave Masri. Went 11 of 14 with his field goals, 32 of 33 with point after touchdowns. Coach Grice, you can't win a game without a kicker, so tell us about this guy.
Oh, yeah. Again, he's had a game-winning field goal this year. Guru, I'll tell you, that's always been one of my dreams is to kick a game-winning field goal and be able to walk off in style just like that. But, as we can see, I mean, this guy here definitely is – a quality kicker. Looks like that was the game-winning field goal, the way the kids are responding. But, as we get into the playoffs, Latin's having a tough game against Raven Gap coming up. Dave is going to have to be on his game, especially in colder weather. His precision is going to be needed this year in the playoffs in order for Latin to continue on their great run.
Yeah, no kidding. I was a kicking coach at one time, and that was my first job as a coach, and it was always tough, those game pressure situations. But these guys are good athletes. So, sometimes you see them on the side of the practice field warming up, but they're always in the game. So, anyway, good job for him. And then our final fresh face, let's go down to the Eastern North Carolina, the Wilmington Laney High School. They beat Fuquay Varina Friday night. Mason Baum blocked a punt, led to the first postseason win in 5 years.
That's awesome. I mean, it seems like today we've been big on the third phase of the game, and special teams is important. And a lot of times on special teams, you want to keep those defensive guys in. And I mean, he seems like a very high IQ guy, always, has a nose for the ball, is able to predict what's about to happen next and get to that ball as soon as possible. So kudos to him. Again, you want guys on that punt block special teams that have that go get it mentality. Who better than a linebacker? And he shows that here in this film and showed that on Friday night.
Yeah, great job to Vaughn, head coach Luke Little, getting that first big playoff win in a long time. And you know this from experience, Coach. Special teams sometimes is what keeps a game going in the playoffs. I mean, how many times has a late playoff game been won by a block punt or a block kick or a kick return? So great job for them. But, guys, that's Fresh Faces for this week for Coach Grice, Chris Hughes. We'll do it next week.
All right, Chris, it's time for the 3A.
All right. Hey, some good games as well this week. Maybe not as loaded from top to bottom with just insanely good games as potentially the 2A. But right there, South Point going to go up the mountain to Pisgah. I kind of anticipate the Red Raiders coming back with this game. Forest View and Parkwood, again, is a game that I think would be very entertaining, very good, great athletes. I think these are both kind of under the radar teams. I've predicted that Forest View would make it to the fourth round. If they win this game, they'll have an opportunity to play South Point. They played Dillon overtime a few weeks ago. So that could pan out. North Davidson is a team that looks top 10 good to me. I think it'd be a good game with Hickory. Hickory Sturgeon at the right time. Westro and at Crest, they've played the playoffs countless times in the past 10 or so years. Ledford and Dudley will be a good game, but I just don't see anybody on Dudley's level in the West. Kings Mountain and West Charlotte, Samuel, I will be there. I told you I would. I'm a man of my word. I think it's going to be a great game. I know you don't want it to be a good game. I could, but I think it'd be a good game. Concord at Highbright and East Lincoln at Statesville. Any thoughts from the West, gentlemen?
I want to hear Sam tell me about Kings Mountain and West Charlotte. What do you see on film with Kings Mountain? What can you guys do? This is a team that's got a lot of tradition in the 3As, made some deep runs in 3A, took Catholic to 97 overtimes a couple years ago in a regional championship game. What do you see on film with them, and what can you do to beat them?
Well, they're a very traditional, great program. That's what we're going to have to beat in 3A now, is like teams that traditionally have always been good. And for us to be the great team we're trying to be, we have to beat these good teams. And Kings Mountain, very solid. I'm very happy we're not playing at Kings Mountain. I think that's a huge advantage if you're playing there. Watched a few games and some certain calls. I was like, wow, I'm glad we're not playing in Kings Mountain. But I think, we play well. I think, we should win this game. I don't think we have to play extremely great. I just think we need to play well, and we'll win this game.
Bulletin board material. Okay, Chris, talk about the East for me.
They can write on the board whatever they want to do. They got to come play.
Several good games. I mentioned in Fresh Faces, Eastern Alamance and Havelock have just played innumerable amount of times over the past 15 or 20 years. They just always, for whatever reason, were on a collision course. Westover's a team that is surging at the right time. Southern Nash at Lee County is two really strong teams. Jacksonville going to Wilson Hunt. They have not played in about 20 years in the playoffs, but they've produced some good games back in the day. 71st, though, hosting Williams. Williams is a team that I could potentially see knocking off that number one seed in the East. I could really see Williams. They really seem to have their act together, getting right at the right time. That's a game that I could probably circle and think that, man, you could maybe see an upset winner here. Scotland County just dominated Southern Durham. I predicted Scotland County to make it to the finals. I still think they very well may. And then this game at the bottom may be the best game in the East. Smithfield-Selma going over to Northern Nash. I mean, these are two teams that have just been on it all year long.
Is that going to be one of those basketball games where it's like 50-49?
No, because I think both of those teams have pretty good defenses. I don't see it like that at all. I see maybe a 27-21.
All right.
Guys, let me ask you a question.
That's not good defense.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. Somebody answer this for me. Sam brought up something that it got me to thinking. Where are the officials coming from during the playoffs? Are they local, or are they assigned by the state from another part of the state? How is that done now that we have an official shortage?
For the
That's a good, I don't know
playoffs,
the answer to that question here.
yeah, for the playoffs, the assignments come from the North Carolina High School Athletic Association from the desk of Mark Dreibelbus, the director of officials. And you never, especially the further you go into the playoffs, you typically would never see an officiating crew from either of the booking agencies that cover either of the two teams. Typically, it's from a neighboring or even a much further away territory versus right there locally. You know, with the shortage, could there be? I don't know. Maybe Alex could know that. But typically, they do come from a further away deal to try to have as much neutrality as possible, so nobody's got an edge over the other for familiarity.
Yeah, further you go in the playoffs, this is one of those situations where the officials shortage is I don't want to say insignificant, but not applicable because of the commitment to cross scheduling and scheduling the very best officials, particularly once you get to the state quarters, the state semis, and cross scheduling from one region to another, or one regional supervisor's zone to another. So you don't have, as Chris said, so you don't have officials from the regional supervisor zone of either of the participating schools as we go further and further into the playoffs. And particularly the fact that Mr. Dreibelbus and his team do an exceptional job of collaborating with the regional supervisors to ensure that the very best of the best are entrusted with these games in other parts of the state as we move along in the playoffs and all classifications. So it really is the very best of what is a tough situation officials wise, but we still put our kids in the very best position to have high quality officiating as we move along in the playoffs.
Well, Chris, judging by your 3A rankings I see on the screen, Sam's moved up a little bit, but that West Charlotte Kings Mountain game, is that the biggest 3A game in the state this week?
I think it's certainly, when you look at the teams that are ranked, if it's not the biggest, it's one of the top one or two. And yeah, I mean, and after, I know that initially when I put my bracket together, I did put Kings Mountain winning that game, and they still very well may. But after watching what film I've seen of both teams, and you know, Grice even put this bug in my ear, looking at the way Maury Adams and that Crest offense just shattered the Kings Mountain run defense. And then even in that opening round, I don't want to say Kings Mountain shouldn't have won, but I think they were very fortunate to beat Franklin, albeit a good Franklin team. I just think that they're not necessarily trending up quite the way I've seen this West Charlotte team play much better in recent weeks.
All right. Each week, Bryce asks people to call him if you ball. What you're saying, yeah, if you ball, you get the call?
If you ball, you get the call?
If you ball, you get the call. So last week, we had a lot of phenomenal performances. A lot of guys balled, and Grice and Guru picked out 5 and gave him the call.
All right, Coach Grice, that phone's been ringing all weekend after the first round of the playoffs. Had some huge performances. We're going to get started with them. The first one right here is a guy who was a runner-up to the Mr. Football last year, had a huge performance Friday night and a big upset victory over the Pinecrest Patriots. Rollsville quarterback Byron Brown, I watched this game. He was on fire from the first possession. What did we see from him Friday, Coach?
Oh, it was like the great, Roy Jones song. Y'all must have forgot. We kind of had him off of our Mr. Football watch list. Wasn't having the great season he had in the spring, and he came out with a performance to remind everybody that he is still one of the best quarterbacks in this state. I mean, being able to come back and look at this in the highlights, he's done everything that we looked at him early on in the spring. He's showing a lot of those same things, and what a time to do it, especially in a big win against Pinecrest here in the first round. So he's still on our radar there, but I'm just glad to see he's getting back to some of those things that he did in the spring. I feel like he may have been still injured. I know he had the issues with his leg, and, kids, a lot of times are going to tell you they're okay and nothing's wrong, but I still feel like early in the season he was being dogged by some of that stuff that was bothering him. So good for him. Glad we could give him the call.
No kidding. And that was a huge win over a really, really, really good Pinecrest team. So hats off to Brown and that entire Rollsville team. Moving on, let's go back to Chase. And the week, let's go up to Chase High School. They've got the third leading rusher in the country in McCombs. And now we're going to look at the guy who's leading the nation in picks, Tavon Derisma. 4 interceptions against Pine Lake Prep. He was on fire.
Goodness, I see that tackle right there was a big time one too. But again, his buddy got tired of his buddy Marquise Combs getting all the shine from the offensive side. He had to show up on the defensive end. And I love my guy Coach Trotter at Pine Lake. Wish I could have been on the headset tell him, hey, let's not throw at that guy anymore. He's a big time player. And again, 4 interceptions in a game. That's something that very few people have done out here, and even in the nation. No surprise at all why he's leading the nation in interceptions, and that's why he had to get the call here.
No kidding. They're going to go play the number 1 team in the state in Reedsville this week. If he can maintain that fire in the secondary, that could be a ball game. We could be talking about some big-time highlights next week as well. Great job, Derisma. All righty, Coach Grice, let's move on with the show. Hey, this is a game that you're ultimately familiar with, Mallard Creek and Butler last week. Let's look at this guy, Jeremiah Hamilton, wide receiver, DB. He made some plays Friday against Butler. Tell us about this guy.
Love this kid, man. He's one of the few guys that we have that, plays both sides. That's reserved for our special guys. And, he's one of those special force type guys. 7 for 101 and a touchdown on offense. Had 8 tackles, a pass breakup, and a pick on the defensive side in one game. We talk about a guy, he returned punts as well. Is a guy that's a do-it-all kid for us, and really has been an unsung hero on our team. People have focused or haven't focused on us, at all. But part of that resurgence that we've had, man, it's all been on his shoulders. So glad he's continuing to have a great year. Big-time win. We couldn't do it without him.
Well, championship runs are made when common players make uncommon plays. And you got guys like that rise to the challenge. You had one big week to do it a step at a time. We'll keep an eye on Hamilton right there, but big performance. So he got the call. He got a Grice's gym. Now we're going to move on here to the next guy. We'll see it right here. 378 yards, 7 touchdowns. You got him highlighted right there. Amari Odom, Panther Creek High School, big time win, leading his team to a playoff win over Southern Alamance.
Definitely. I actually, got the chance to see him 7-on-7 over the summer with Panther Creek. And I, was very impressed by him then. See, he's continuing and even getting better from when I saw him then. Again, we talk about the Grice's Gyms formula, 21 of 30, high percentage there. 378 and 7 is incredible there. And I think, again, big chance for him to win. You see that throw. Again, he's off platform scrambling, is able to still complete the ball. I'm just glad that we were able to highlight this kid. He's been one that's been surging as much as he can. And Panther Creek, we remember in the spring, Guru, they came out, had a little run. They, I thought they almost, took off. I think it was Myers Park or whatever it was. I think it was them. Yep. They had a chance. So I'm not surprised that playoff time comes again, and they're still doing what they do. Odom was a huge part in that.
Yeah, good job. Again, Panther Creek, Amari Odom, big-time game. And finally, let's stay in the Raleigh area and look at Leesville Road. Running back DJ Scott ran 40 times. I said that right. 40 times, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns against Holly Springs.
Leesville Road, they, again, 2 years ago, made it to the state title. They're trying to do the same in that tough 4A East. He's a big reason why. Again, it's getting a little chilly out here. Your bell cow has to get the ball. 40 carries. It lets you know that that's a guy that they knew was going to have a big night, and he did for 263 yards. So again, Leesville Road, playoff time, they're not unfamiliar. These coaches understand what's going on. They know what they need to do to be successful, and getting this running game going for them was a big reason.
Yeah, no kidding. DJ Scott, Leesville Road, coached by Ben Kolstad, one of the best coaches, I think, in the state, always runs the ball. And you see those big linemen right there. They are going to get it done. That's a team that I think is made for cold weather football. So we've got to keep an eye on Leesville Road up there in Raleigh. But, man, that's another week. Got a lot of phone calls, got a lot of Twitter messages. They ball out this week, second round. How can they get in touch with us, Grice?
Oh, you already know. I'll be coming, down the mountain from Asheville, but at Coach Jay Grice, I'll see it when I get home at Guru Chris Hughes, at Langston Wirtz Jr., or at Observer Preps, as we always say, especially as it gets cold in this weather and this big money time of the playoffs. If you ball, you're going to get the call.
Yeah, there it is. So we have our Mr. Football meetings over the weekend. And something really strange happened this weekend. We're going to talk about it on the backside. Now you will notice we had 8 guys last week, Dale, but this week we have 12 guys. Is that the right thing to do, Dale?
Well, if there's players that are playing themselves into tight contention, yeah, I can accept that.
What do you think of our list? This is your first time seeing this, why I'm asking you.
Well, I still see the top contenders are there. and, you know, the rest of the guys, I hate to say it, they're going to have to do an awful lot to play themselves into that top 2 position in the list. There's a lot of good players here. Chambers
Gary,
is
I know
well
you're happy because
represented,
they got
aren't
your guy Christian Hamilton on the list. What do you think?
You know, now I guess it comes down to winning. Who impacts winning the most?
No doubt.
On a consistent basis. They're all outstanding players, all of them.
Nah, hold on, because Gary gets all opinionated early in the year, and now he's coming on playing politician. You gave me the Christian Hamilton stuff before. I think one of the greatest things about this is, again, all of these guys are now in put up or shut up situations, and that's the beauty of this. Again, the first game they played, you know, Christian Hamilton didn't have the numbers, I would say, that would be requisite to the type of player he is. It happens again. I don't know if he's so fortunate. And it's not just him. I mean, you talk about Marquise McCombs, Guru told us he's playing Reedsville. Again, all these numbers are great. All this stuff is good against, you know, Joe Bob.
And the funny thing, like I said last week about the numbers, a lot of these kids were only playing a half in the regular season, maybe 3 quarters at the most. Now, at this stage of the year, they're playing 4 quarters.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's going to dictate, do they really deserve to be on here?
Kind of like Greiner in the game.
Are you guys saying that Mr. Football has to be somebody who gets to the regional semis and finals and state finals? Or what are we saying?
Absolutely not. It's who impacts winning the most. And who impacts winning the most, then for this list from Mr. Football must be Mr. Newman. Mr. Newman impacts winning the most.
I don't disagree with your point. It's
Mr. Newman is the only person on this list who has impacted winning at a high level at 2 different schools. Mr. Newman has been a shining new toy in green and white and in red and black.
Yeah.
So
Dale, is Jacob Newman having the type of season you could give him Mr. Football North Carolina?
I think so. It's hard to overlook Dalen, but I think Jacob has contributed tremendously to the success at South. I think the proof in the pudding will be how well he plays against Huff Friday night. I am a believer that.
You give me a nice segue there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give him consideration. Yeah.
I mean, if you put on the tape on both of these guys, Dalen Smothers is a big time recruit for a reason. You can see it. There's some flashiness. Mr. Newman, as Alex would say, and some others have been on the show. He does exactly what he's supposed to do. Does exactly what he's supposed to do in the system he's in. He's in the best system. I think he made the best decision going to South Meg, being behind that offensive line of South Meg's Joe Evans team. They do a great job. I think he's really good in that. But he should be getting recruited, but I don't think he's going to get recruited like Dalen Smothers. It's just who's going to impact going forward. Now,
as you pick Mr. Football, how much does where you're going to be recruited factor in versus the type of season you're having in high school?
Well, it's
the same high school award, or is it who's getting the biggest recruiting award?
It's a high school award, but it's the eye test. That's what I'm saying. We can look at film or go to a game of the impact, someone's having, and see the flash and like, wow, he's different. That person is different. Like, I haven't seen this before.
Well, Marion Hampton is different.
Yeah, but stats. No, I'm not saying. I agree. I watch his film. I think he's definitely
that
different.
dude at Grimsley, that quarterback, is different.
Yeah, they're different. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's what I'm saying. Who's gonna impact the most going forward? We're gonna see some clutch games, and there's gonna be some of these athletes that make big differences and wins.
All right,
yeah, I don't
Chris,
think it's how you look. I
clutch
think it's how
games.
you carry your team. I think that's what should be very important right now.
Speaking of clutch games, Chris, let's talk about the Fight Club here. Let's start on the Eastern side.
All right. I really like Richmond's chances hosting Leesville Road. I just think this Raider team is really polished and peaking at the right time. Coach Till and that team, they seem to get better every week. Nightdale at Pine Forest will be a really good game. Nightdale has been impressive even with the 5-5 record. Pine Forest, even at 10-1, I don't think that they're nearly as challenged. So that'd be a good game. Millbrook at Hillside, that's some contrasting styles. That's two different. That's oil and water mixing. You've got two different kind of teams, but I think it's going to make for a really competitive game down to the wire. I like that one a lot. I don't know how I would lean. I'm kind of 50-50 on that one. Probably just a little bit of an advantage with Millbrook. Rollsville and New Bern, I really think that Rollsville can go on the road and win another game, especially the way New Bern was kind of challenged by Wakefield this past week. And really all it comes down to, if Rollsville can stop power, then they've got a really good chance of just putting that offense to a standstill. Laney at Cleveland. Laney's a great story, some incredible talent. Amarian Hampton and Skylar Locklear and all those, they are who they are. Heritage at Gibbons, I think that's going to be a phenomenal game. I like Gibbons, though. Southview at Hoggard, I really like Hoggard. And I think Wake Forest is just too physical out of that bottom side of the bracket. I see them going on as well.
Alex, who do you like in what's the big game in your area this weekend?
Well, there's really no matchup that jumps out. I guess you would say, in terms of team-wise, from what we have, would be that Heritage Cardinal Gibbons game. I think Gibbons is in great shape in that game. Heritage, which has been very tremendous defensively and on special teams, but has not seen the likes of Cardinal Gibbons, particularly on defense, led by defensive coordinator Nick Drew, one of the top defensive coordinators in the state. That's a good game. Other Millbrook Hillside, I mean, Styles there, that'll be fun to watch. But I do think, as we spoke of earlier, DJ Scott looked very impressive for Leesville Road last week. But I will say this, that Leesville Road is in for a new experience. You walk outside of Raider Cove in Rocky.
Flashing lights.
This is the law of the Raider, as true as the flight of the ball. And the player who keeps it will prosper. And the player who breaks it must fall. And the ball and the parts that it's made of are bound and made fast by the seam. The strength of the team is the player, and the strength of the player is the team. Richmond takes that game. Next.
All right. Chris, Damian Jackson says we need to shout out Reagan's John Gillette.
Yeah, I've tweeted, and we've talked about John Gillette on several times this year. He is just a really gritty, hard-nosed, physical, athletic playmaker. I think that Coach McGee can put him at different spots on the field. I mean, he's aggressive. I think he's a baller. He's a ball player. I think he can play multiple positions, but I just like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm a little bit late. I think he was wanting me to talk about him during the Mr. Football segment, so I apologize, Damien. I just saw that. There's so many popping on the screen. I just saw that. Dale, before I let Chris go and break down the West, I want to get your thoughts. South Meck at Huff, you've been following South Meck all year. Is Huff's obviously in top 30, top 40 in the country? Is there anything South Meck can do to go in there and spring an upset?
I think so. I think they got to not let the game get bigger than them. They're going to have to play solid ball. They're a very good defensive team. I think they got to play like they played every one of their conference games. You know, they played a lot of tough games this season, especially in conference. There's a little bit of selfishness here and wanting to know just how good that conference is, because the fourth team finished a combined 7 points.
Grace, I know that makes you itch, so go ahead.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything.
You had Myers Park ranked in the top 10 almost the whole season, and that whole conference, no team lost to another team in the top 4 by more than 7 points, and actually I think 4 points. So that's they faced a lot of tough competition. It's going to be a tough ball game, but I would definitely not count South Meck out.
I think South Meck needs to slow the game down like they did against Myers Park and really limit possessions. Don't let Huff play that 7-on-7 style football.
I don't think they slowed the game down. I think Myers Park just played really good defense. We got to give Myers Park some credit there. While they couldn't.
It's also going to be raining on Friday too, so that might help a little bit. But Guru, let's let the Guru do what the Guru does.
Well, I think that South Meck can beat Huff. I do think Huff is the better team. They've got far more weapons, and when Huff plays to their extreme potential, which they're very capable of doing, I think that they're hard to beat. With that being said, you hand the ball off to Newman 20-25 times, and he rushes for 275 yards. Not only do I think he gives them a chance to win, he really multiplies his chances of getting higher on that Mr. Football list. I think the two kind of go hand in hand with one another. Mallard Creek going up to Asheville, I think that's a tough game. I do think Mallard Creek's probably got a little bit more talent, but Asheville has just had a solid team. They're physical, well coached, and that's just talking about a beautiful stadium. That's going to be a great environment for football. Hard to pick a winner. Myers Park at Glenn. Glenn really struggled. They beat Providence 7-3. I could see this game with Myers Park just going down to the wire. I mean, it could be a special teams play. Who knows what it could be. I like Myers Park's chances in this game. I think Myers Park is probably playing better right now. But Glenn is just so freaky talented with so many Division I guys and guys that can make plays at any time, especially on defense. That defense is just phenomenal.
Yeah, quick note there, Chris, is Cameron Thornton may be coming back from Myers Park. I don't know if he can come back this week, but if he can come back, that changes the dynamic of their team altogether.
It does. This East Forsyth team, looking at that game at AK, I think East Forsyth, they're a team that I had going all the way to the fourth and the fifth round. But I think after looking at the film and the way that I've seen AK play, I could really see Ardrey, if not winning this game outright, certainly it going down to the wire. I think this has potential to be the best game now that I've seen, and just in terms of competitiveness, I think it's going to be a great ball game. Marvin Ridge at Weddington, we know what we're going to get with that one. It's going to be a slugfest. Cuthbertson at Lake Norman, that's some different styles. Both teams are doing really well, getting right at the right time. I think this Chambers at Hickory Ridge game, though, it's a phenomenal ball game. Hickory Ridge or Dayland Hollywood scored with about 6 seconds to go to seal that deal back in September. I don't know if it'll be as close this time, but having that game being played at home in front of the home fans and everything, I think it certainly gives Hickory Ridge a better chance. Although, and some of you guys might agree with me, I kind of think that Chambers and those players, I think they're going to feed off of being the road team even better than they would at home. So it may actually be an advantage for Chambers in a weird kind of way. And then that Porter Ridge at Grimsley game, I just don't know if Porter Ridge can slow them down, but they might. Who knows? But Travis Shaw's back, and he has just been a terror on that defensive line.
Yeah, he looked incredible on film. I watched the film that Rivals put out on him. I was like, oh, my God, I would not want to block that guy. Sam, I'm just curious. Tell me about your buddy Grice going up to Asheville. What do you see from Mallard Creek, and do they have a chance? Asheville scored like 105 points last week.
Yeah, I like Mallard Creek in this game, to be honest with you. I think that they're a physical brand of football, and they'll translate in the cold even in Asheville. And I think that Asheville hasn't seen someone of that caliber yet. And so I like the upset, record-wise. I think Mallard Creek would be, 6-4 now, though, right? Isn't that Grace, or are you 5-4?
We were 5-4. Missed the first 2 games of the year. So
that's right. All right, cool deal. Yeah, I like Mallard Creek in this game, especially 3 touches the ball 20-plus times a game. Yeah, I like them winning a lot of games.
3's pretty good. I think he'll be having a spot on the observer team at the end of the year. One thing Mallard Creek, I think, has to do is stick with that aggressive game plan and don't, kind of go back to playing that 3-yard cloud of dust, punt, let's play field position. Grace, can you give us a little sneak peek at the game plan?
Of course I can't. But, especially watching Asheville, kudos to those guys. Those guys just play tough and are relentless. I think, that's the one thing about it. It's kind of the mentality-wise this week. We're kind of going in, and telling our kids, the Gaffney game to me was a great understanding for going in a tough environment. You're at a place where this town, lives, eats, and breathes this. And we told our kids all week. I told them tonight, you lose this game, those kids in Asheville will remember it for 30 years. Anytime you see one of those guys or somebody from that town, they're going to tell you about the night they beat Mallard Creek. So just come into that game with the understanding of, hey, they're actually now the team with the chip on their shoulder ready to prove something to the 704 team instead of our situation against Butler. So funny in playoffs how roles reverse. And I'm excited to go up there. The stadium looks beautiful. I feel blessed and privileged to be able to go up there and experience such a great stadium. Want to come down the mountain with the win, though.
All right, Chris, let's talk about your rankings before we get into the game of the week breakdown.
Not a lot of changes. Obviously, Huff is still right there, number one. Chambers is right there, hot on their trail. Grimsley easily could be standing tall at the end of the year, as could Cleveland. Richmond continues to climb, though. They've moved up a spot or so each week for the past 3 or 4 weeks. I think they're getting right at the right time. East Forsyth's dropped a spot. New Bern dropped about 2 spots. Cardinal Gibbons, though, right there in the mix. South Mac, again, right there. They've kind of been in that 11, 12, 13 range all year long. But South Mac, I like a physical team. I like them. And then Glenn, a 7-3 game last week. Hard to read into that. I know Providence is good, but it wasn't necessarily a good showing for Glenn. But a win is a win.
That's right. Playoffs is all about surviving in advance. All right, so I guess we all know what the game of the week is. No surprise. So I had a chance to sit down with your good friend today, Sam, Jupiter Wilson, and he is ready to go. He's like Buster Douglas getting ready to fight Tyson. He's ready to go. So
that's my guy.
Let y'all check out my man. All right, so the biggest game in North Carolina, the fellas tell me this week, is Chambers High School going up to Harrisburg to play Hickory Ridge. Game 1 of this series turned out to be pretty exciting. You had a chance to win the game late, Coach Jupiter Wilson. Most people still aren't giving you guys a shot in this game. Are they wrong?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I told our kids last time, even after the game against AC Reynolds, so I think we came in wanting to say whether or not we can compete. And as I told them, our expectation is not to go out there and compete, it's to go out there and win the game. I feel like, we go out there and do the things we can do, we come out victorious. So there's no doubt in my mind if we do the things we do, prepare, coaches, players, whatever, we'll come out there and we'll come out victorious.
We got bigger fish to fry. Make sure we understand.
Chambers wins a lot of games before the game starts. You see all these guys you read about, you see Smothers, you see Pierce, you see all the guys they have, Concepcion, guys are intimidated. You guys are not going to be intimidated, so it's going to be 0-0 when it starts. How big a factor is that?
I think it's huge. And people don't try to get into JV and all that type of stuff, but a lot of the kids, especially I know like their O-line that played against our JV kids, it was a score 31-0 that we won. I know Smothers and all those kids weren't playing from the JV perspective, but those kids were intimidated, coupled with the guys that are coming back from juniors and having the opportunity to actually play them, go over there, see how they, go about doing things before the game, all those, hype videos and things that they do, which, to an extent does play a part with other teams in terms of trying to, scare them, intimidate them. But our kids are not going to be intimidated on Friday night.
Yeah. We talked about this a lot, but that Chambers game really gave you guys a serious boost of confidence. You were 2-1 going into that game. You were 2-2 after. Since then, you won 7 straight games. And I'm looking at your scores. You've been over 40 points 4 times, and your defense hasn't given up more than 19, and that was in a blowout. You guys have hit a different stride. So how, there's no such thing as a good loss. But how did that game change your season?
From my perspective, I felt like we kind of went the same, but I definitely know what our kids, they came into that game wanting to compete, but just not knowing where they were. You got your naysayers, you have people at our school, people around, hey, can you guys go out there and compete with that team? And then once they got out there and, kind of got settled in after that first quarter and then realized that, hey, man, we can compete. And then got to a point when that fourth quarter we had the opportunity to win. I think it just gave a major boost to our football team. And from that point on, when we went into conference, we were like, hey, man, we can compete with Vance and have a chance to win. There's nobody on our schedule that we shouldn't be able to beat. And those last 6-7 games, those kids just went out and did that. And I'm feeling really, really good right now going into Friday night.
All right, so before I let you go, when we get done talking, Coach Grice is going to do his 3 keys to the game. I want to know Coach Jupiter Wilson's 3 keys to the game. What do you guys got to do? 3 keys to turn out victorious in this game.
Most definitely, number 1, that kid, Hollywood. Number 3 is a great football player, so we got to tackle. And what I mean by that, we got to get 3-4 hats to the ball. Most time that kid is not going to go down on 1 tackle. So we got to get 3 or 4 hats to the ball every time he has the opportunity to run the ball. I think number 2, we can't turn the ball over. If we don't turn the ball over, I do really believe that we will win that football game. And then the most important thing is just make sure we execute. And what I mean by that, and I told our kids, we're going to be high. They're going to be sky high. Going to be a little probably chirping, all that stuff going on. But when the emotion and all that stuff goes away, it's going to be about what team executes. So from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, we got to make sure we execute. I think if we do those 3 things, we'll come out on top.
All right, man. Gotta love a coach with confidence. Hey, thanks for coming on with us. Good luck to you, Coach.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Here we are.
Hey, Langston, you got to send me that segment. I couldn't see it, but I want to watch it. So you can.
I got you. Let's see what Grice had to say.
All right, guys. Here we are, second round of the playoffs. There's a lot of big-time games this week, but there can only be 1 game of the week. So let's hit it. All right, guys, we had this epic matchup earlier in the year. It came down to the wire. We're going to do it again. This time, Chambers is going to Hickory Ridge. Grice, let's hit you up with your keys to the game.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you guys knew we were choosing this game. I mean, it's, again, one of the best games already of the year. We get part 2, as Guru said, this time in Harrisburg. Hey, we got to have our guy. This is the Gary Richmond Bowl. I had to bring a special guest in here for this. But, 3 big things here. Chambers has to corral Bentley. I thought QB Alex Bentley for Hickory Ridge had one of the best games of the season, consistently scrambling and making plays when nothing was there, when the Chambers swarming defense was ready to pounce. He had a lot of great opportunities and made some big plays. Chambers this time has to understand that if things break down, if they do a great job covering, the quarterback can still go make a big play happen. So they've got to focus on that in this rematch. And defensive coordinator coach Andre Cannon is going to make sure that he's got Bentley on one of his guys to watch. The second one, I mean, again, we know Chambers has a lot of talent, and by no means am I discounting any of the talent outside of the one guy. But as we know, as I've seen even through my studies of the team, when things get tough, when they get in a tight situation, the ball's going to number 3, Dalen Smothers. He's going to get the ball every single time in those kind of situations. Hickory Ridge basically has to force a QB and Sean Camp to get the ball outside, get the ball to guys like Armand Wright, Concepcion, and a lot of these other great receivers, Zion Booker, if he's able to suit up for this game. So, again, sell out for Smothers and play good defense on the back end. I mean, it's tough because of the great athletes that Chambers has, but you've got to focus on the guy who was the guy in this game and the difference and the reason Chambers won the first game. And finally, Hickory Ridge has got to win the turnover battle. Even though Hickory Ridge has the higher seed, I think most people, if you ask them, would favor Chambers in this match. So for Hickory Ridge to actually come out impressive and come out and actually, win this game, they've got to win the turnover battle. They can't have those big turnovers that cause them to have issues in the first game and lose by that razor-thin margin. So they've got to be perfect with the ball. It's going to be pretty cold out there. As it gets colder, ball security becomes an issue. We always have to focus on kids, wearing different things that they don't normally wear. So do they have a sleeve, or are they wearing a shirt that they don't normally wear throughout the year? How can that affect ball security? So those are the three things for me. This is going to be a great, great, great matchup. And, unfortunately, I have business. Well, fortunately, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be there for this matchup. So I got to turn it first. This is Gary Richmond Bowls. I got to turn it to the sub teacher and let us know what's going
on. Well, as you know, I've coached at both schools. I coached the junior and senior class currently at Hickory Ridge. My career took off at Chambers, which is back then was Vance, as I got my first head coaching job there, as well as my first coordinator position there. The first game, I think, caught Chambers by surprise. And I know that Hickory Ridge is looking forward to this game. They've really improved. I think their season took off with a loss, because now they know that they can play with the big boys. Their defense has dramatically improved, and their offense was always good. Chambers, as Sam and I were talking off camera, is that time of the season where they're no longer bored. They probably had, 2 big games early in the year, and then they look forward to the Huff game, which got away from them. But in the end, my analysis is going to be a close game. Grice mentioned about that running back. He's not dependent on somebody getting him the ball the way the top player at Hickory Ridge is dependent, and that top player I'm referring to as Christian Hamilton. He's dependent on the quarterback getting him the ball, whereas Smothers, they know, just hand it to him. And so I think that might be the difference in the game. I expect it to be real close. As Grice said, turnovers would be the key. In the previous game, I think it was the team that had the ball last won, which was Chambers. I don't think it's going to come down to who has it last this time. I think Chambers has just a little bit more experience and a little bit more talent than Hickory Ridge. I think the Hickory Ridge staff may be a little bit better than the Vance staff. Chambers staff. But the Chambers staff has been there before, and they're used to these big games. So in a close one, I think it'll go to Chambers. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hickory Ridge pulled the upset. Yeah. I think it's that close.
That's why it's the game of the week.
And, Coach Greiner, we got to take it to you. I mean, I know you're intimately familiar with both of these programs as well. Definitely wanted to have you on to have your take. So let me know what you think.
I just think that it comes to a point in time where, we keep on saying it's playoff time and stuff like that, and Chambers are a different beast when it becomes playoff times. But how often can you turn the on and off switch on? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it'll flicker and things won't work the way you thought it would work because you haven't done it throughout the whole year like you've done in the past. And I think I'm not going to be surprised if Hickory Ridge comes out guns blazing. They got nothing to lose. They're playing with house money right now. And how tentative will Chambers be being the guys that are supposed to win now? A lot of times in the past, they've been teams where they've been the underdog role. Well, they're not the underdog role anymore. So how hungry are they? I don't know. And that's why it's the game of the week. But I think this would be a great game. I plan on winning our game Friday to prove Chris wrong.
I've
already busted this bracket. We've already busted this bracket, Greiner.
Busting that bracket, baby. No, it's a great game. I think both of these coaching staffs do a really good job, and you'll see a lot of hard hitting out there.
And real quick before we wrap, though, guys, Sam, how hard is it to beat the same team twice in 1 year? Because Hickory Ridge is going to have that added motivation to prove them wrong and get them this time.
It just depends on how good the other team is. Both of these teams are really good. I think you'll see some changes from the defense from Hickory Ridge. I think you'll see them be a little bit more aggressive in parts to try to stop the run and get them in third and longs and put them, because Chambers doesn't throw the ball as well as they did in the past, in my opinion. And you can sell out on the run, like, Grice's keys to the game. If you sell out on Chambers and stop Smothers in the running game, I think they can struggle, just like Huff did. Huff took away the running game, and they didn't score a lot of points. Now, Huff is a different beast, but I think that they're going to try to take that that ability that they've seen on film. I know they probably got that film somehow, some way, and they're going to try to mock and do certain things that way to make it tough on them now.
All right, that's it. Big time game Friday night. It could rain. That could have a little bit to do with it, but Chambers hosts are traveling over to Hickory Ridge. We can't wait.
Man, the insight. Alex, having seen all that, give me your thoughts from the Eastern perspective. Huff and Hickory, Chambers and Hickory Ridge.
Well, it's one of those things where, as we know, week in and week out, that the 4A West bracket, particularly a consolidated 4A West, is the epitome of competition week in and week out. And it's really a blessing when you stop and realize the degree to which the legacies and the prowesses of both of these programs have been infused by the genius of Gary Richmond, and that has carried on to help these programs ascend to the positions in which they are now. One as a two-time state champion, one as a program that's on the rise with an exceptional head coach, with whom I was a student at UNC, by the way. But once again, just praise be Gary Richmond for his mentorship and his leadership and the indelible place that he has in his legacies.
Alex, give me a score, Alex. Give me a score.
A score?
Yeah.
Whichever team scores more points wins the game.
He's counting out. Dale, give me a score.
A score?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a one-score game.
Oh my gosh, you guys, give a score.
I'll give you a score.
It's hard to pick. I think this is a game that Hickory Ridge can win, but again, it's going to be one of those that
be careful.
How that first series comes out. It's going to be a one-score game, and it's going to be in the 20s.
What's the score?
31-28.
31-28.
Who's winning, Sam?
Hickory Ridge.
Hickory Ridge. Call an upset.
Yeah, I can see that.
Look at Christ. All right, it's time to go to the Thunderdome.
All right, man. You see us right here, 3-shot. What time is it?
You already know. Let's get it going.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
All right, Sam. Last week I gave you the option to kick or receive. We had 4 questions, so that kind of threw you a curveball. Back to 3 this week. What's it going to be?
Oh, we always deferring. Let's go.
Right. We're going to defer. Let's go ahead and get it on. Coach Grice, his first question is coming your way. Can Chambers three-peat this year, or has a North Carolina team caught up with him?
Yeah, I think actually the term should be has the NCHSAA caught up to them, because I think, making this a 64-team tournament, really is going to produce, and bring in a lot of good teams. I mean, you look at it, I call it the Fight Club every week for a reason. I mean, you had Mount Tabor make the tournament, who won, a state title. You had Grimsby in there, a state title winner. You got Chambers. So, I mean, it's a situation, Richmond's in the East, but then you still have a lot of these single A teams like at East Forsyth with great pedigree that are in that same division. Additionally, even how tough the conference is that they're in. I mean, not getting one of those top seeds and having to go through a rigorous, line of teams to even get there. You got Hickory Ridge this week. You got Grimsby potentially looming large, towards the latter end of the playoff. But all said and done, I don't think they can three-peat this season. But I think it's the NCHSAA that has caught up to them.
Yeah, I mean, can they three-peat? Definitely. They're one of the best teams in the state. are the odds in their favor? No, just like Grice said, the 4A is the Fight Club for a reason. And I don't know if they can sustain it top to bottom. Their defense is not as feared as it's been in the past, in my opinion. They're really good. They're very explosive, live off the big play. It's just not a suffocating defense that they've had the last 2 years. And I think that's what's going to hurt them in the cold to win in their third one in a row.
I'll say this, gentlemen. You guys and just people in general picking against them. I picked against them in my brackets. That's probably the added motivation that they feed off of that, and that's probably what's going to tip the scales in their favor. I have to agree with you guys. You know, the deck stacked against them, but talent-wise, they've got as much as anybody.
No doubt.
It's going to be fun to watch. All right, Coach Greiner, this second question is coming to you. Has Eastern North Carolina, and particularly in the 4A, caught up with the Western teams?
Absolutely not. It's not even close, actually. The Western teams are just extremely dominant. The only way that they strengthen the Eastern side is they moved one of the Western teams over to the Eastern side, and that's what made it stronger, is in Richmond County. That's how that got stronger. But, you know, Cardinal Gibbons and all those teams, they're pretty good teams. But, you know, you had Myers Park, who is, you know, maybe like just barely cracking the top 10 on the Western side, and they beat Cardinal Gibbons. You see what I'm saying? So, like, the Western side is legit. It is very hard to beat people on the Western side when the East side will have a little bit easier road.
They're catching up. Let's be very clear. They're catching up. I mean, you think about our Mr. Football list. You think about some of the stars we have. You've got a Hampton over there. You know, you've got Mason Fortune with Millbrook. You've got Byron Brown. A lot of these young quarterbacks. And if you talk about that position, that line is getting pretty close, you know, and that's being led by a lot of great talent out of there. Roseville, you know, playing, you know, teams like at East Forsyth early in the year, taking their lumps. That was a surprise. That was a surprise victory. But I think what's helped them is that they made sure to schedule teams. Cardinal Gibbons playing Chambers, playing Myers Park. That's going to prove and be big for them as they continue to play. I think that's been the biggest problem with these Eastern teams is that a lot of them haven't ventured out west. They haven't gone west to go find this tougher competition. The teams that did, you know, put that investment and go find the tougher competition in the West, they are the ones I think that you're going to see, you know, as we get into Thanksgiving and that time, you know, Greiner would love to be practicing on Thanksgiving. As we get there, those East teams that put that investment to go play tough competition, they're going to get rewarded and they're going to be ready to go.
I want to say this.
Tough competition. The Western plays tough competition every week in and week out.
That's how they're catching up. You got to play. You got to do like we did.
Yeah, but the thing, I don't want to be mean to you, Grice, but it doesn't. It says in this message, it says caught up. It means catching up. So technically, they are not there yet. So they've
achieved some progress. We talk about that. It's not sevens. It's not completion yet. They are catching up. So they caught up a little bit.
I agree with both of you, but I want to add this before we go to the next question. Wake Forest did win 3 championships in a row not too long ago. They're a very physical team. Reggie Lucas does a great job. You've had some Western and some Charlotte area coaches head to the East. You know, Jeremy Buck went over there to Sanderson, and look what they're doing. They're getting big time. Samick moves over to Rollsville. They've developed a Western mentality. Jeremy Buck, I mentioned him. Jeff Simpson, former Vance and West Charlotte coach, he moved over there and started coaching. I think coaching has gotten better in the East, and I do think that it's better. In Richmond, you know, moving them to the East, it kind of artificially inflates it a little bit, but they're going to bring it. So I think they're there.
But the Wake Forest, the thing that killed Wake Forest is the new school. Was it Roseville that opened up, or which one opened up right beside
Roseville? The Roseville was already open when Wake Forest went on their run. So it's kind of hard to say that. But I'll say this, Cardinal Gibbons had Chambers beat. Cardinal Gibbons came down here and played an overtime game with Myers Park. I think it's closer than you think. I still give it a little bit of an edge to the West, but not by much. But finally, Coach Grice, heading to you for the final question. Charlotte Catholic was upset in the first round. Is the dynasty dead in the 4A?
Well, it's like I said, I feel like I got a raw deal. And I know people, I can hear the groaning already from Union County, but I feel like they got a raw deal. They faced a team that was acutely familiar with them. I think one of the greatest things about a team that runs such a specific and now, you know, kind of a retro style offense like the wing, you know, you face teams that aren't familiar with that. That's going to give them problems. We look at the Lake Norman, Northern Guilford. Northern Guilford, we know, was a great team, but not having faced a triple team, having to prepare for it all week and only 1 week of preparation is going to be tough. That edge, I think Catholic would have gotten by facing teams that weren't familiar with what they do. that edge is gone, was gone. So, I mean, I think using a one-game sample size to determine if they're here, they're good or they're not is pretty poor. I mean, we know they held an early victory over, over South Met. They were able to do a lot of things and have great success, even pushing Butler to the limit. So, I mean, they've had success. It's not dead. They have a quick adjustment here off a short turnaround. I think they'll be back.
Yeah, I don't think they're dead at all. I think that they'll strive and make adjustments. That's what Catholic does so well. They adjust to the time. So they know that they're in the fight club in the 4A, and so they'll make adjustments. They'll make some changes, and then they'll be harder and harder to beat as you go. Right now, when you jump from 3A to 4A with all those juggernauts, the talent level is just top to bottom. It's just different than the teams that they faced in the past. And I think that's what caught up to them this year. But is the dynasty over? No. I mean, you won 4 in a row, and then all of a sudden you still make it to the playoffs. You're still a dominant team. They'll just make adjustments. It might take them a couple of years to get back to where they're competing for the state championship, though.
As long as Coach Brodowitz is there and that staff is intact, they've got guys on that staff that could have probably been head coaches many years ago. They'll find a way to get it done. So I'm confident that they'll be back. But anyway, guys, that's another edition here of Coach versus Coach on Talking Preps. And, man, second round of the playoffs.
That's it, baby. Lock them doors, baby.
Woo!
Bracket busters over here. Let's go, Greiner. Let's bust the bracket.
Dale, what is the big storyline for you going into this Friday? What are you looking at?
What is the big storyline this weekend?
Yeah, what are the things you're looking at this weekend?
Well, I think that Chambers Hickory Ridge game is a huge game. That is big, and I think that's a great game for people to go see. I think that one will tell us a whole lot about where Hickory Ridge is heading. So really, I'm looking at that game as being a big marker game, as well as Joe's game. Bryce, I think you guys are going to have a great game Friday night, to be quite honest with you. I saw you lift your hands up.
No, I was shocked
because
this
Dale,
is
can you give me a score for that game?
For the Mallard Creek game?
Yes.
I think they'll win by 2 scores or more. I don't think that. Look, it's tough down here in Mecklenburg County, and we play a different brand of football.
I'm misunderstood like normal. I was expecting Dale to talk about what I think is going to be a sneaky good game with East Forsyth and AK. I mean, I think you're going to get 500 yards of total offense, 600 yards. I mean, both teams like to throw the ball all over the park. I think that game is going to be a fun game, and everybody's talking about, of course, our games of the week and other top games. That one's going to be fun. It'll be a fun game.
I actually think our AK is going to win that game. So. I'm liking AK in that, but I believe there's going to be a lot of offense. I agree with that, and I don't believe it's going to be a walk-away game either way. I think it's going to be another one of those one-score games. It's amazing. What amazes me this week is that this is really the first round for our traditional, the way we've been doing playoffs in the past, and yet we got these huge matchups that really you shouldn't be seeing until. Even in our format that we have now, until 3rd, 4th round, I can't believe these matchups that we got.
I don't disagree. All right, guys, we got the North Carolina Super Team is going to be out December 21st. God willing, the creek don't rise. My grandma used to say. Sam and Grice and Chris will present the teams. Hope everybody will tune in for that. Mr. Football will be out. I think we said the week before the state championship game. So we'll have the 3 finalists on. If we can finally get the 3 finalists and pick a winner, and Sam will hand out that award. These are the recognized North Carolina All-State team and the recognized North Carolina Player of the Year. A lot of people do them, but when you go to college, you look back in the college manuals and they say who was State Player of the Year and who was All-State. This is where it comes from. So it's a big deal what these guys are doing. And Chris, if you were going to pick an under-the-radar game or two this week, what would you pick? Because we've been doing a lot of Hickory Ridge Chambers, but I know there's a lot of good games.
An under-the-radar game?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like we've went through a lot of them.
Did I stump you out? That's something?
I don't know. I'm going to say that Chase and Reidsville game. I think that's a game that could really I don't want to say Regional is going to go up there to the football capital of North Carolina and win it, but I don't think Chase is going to be intimidated either.
It's funny because the Chase coach told me last week Marquise McCombs had a pedestrian night. My man was 19 for 196 and 3 touchdowns. Pedestrian.
Light work.
And didn't play much in the second half. It's kind of crazy. All right, it's time for the big star of the big show. In his one shot.
I don't know about big star. I'm like low man on the totem pole now. I can't even see the videos no more. So, all right. Yeah, I get the bad links now. I'm to figure something out.
Get off dial-up.
Shout out to
Alex.
Get
off dial-up.
I know. I'm on dial. I've been blaming you for dial-up and it's cursing me now. Shout out to Alex though. In the background, we are gonna auction off his iron. We're starting the bid at $300. If you guys want that iron gone, we're gonna bid on it on eBay. All donations go to my diapers for my baby coming December 22nd. That's all I'm saying.
Preston.
Thought we were gonna buy him a green screen.
I want that to be that is his green screen.
Alex,
that is his green screen.
Don't let them make you cheap. I'll put you in one shot and make it look back.
Hey, no, it's always very good to have an opportunity to support the Greiner family cause. We're all very excited. We're all very excited for Sam and his family and the forthcoming new edition. And actually, it's a reminder to us all of the imperative familial support that enables people like Sam Greiner, Jonathan Grice, Dale Ross, Langston Wirtz, Chris Hughes, Gary Richmond to do what they do and to have done it for so long. And that's the beauty of that which we celebrate during these playoffs and the forthcoming Thanksgiving season, that we all are thankful for our families who have supported and empowered us and continue to do that to enable us to do what we do. So many thanks and well wishes to the Greiner family. And of course, we're all honored to support the Greiner family and their forthcoming new edition.
Wow. Okay. So on that note,
yes, I love it, Alex. Yes,
I know, right? On that note, I want to give a shout out to all the people who made the Queen City Senior Bowl. I think it's a great big deal. No Shrine Bowl this year, so it gives kids a chance to have a final game.
Charity bowl.
What you say,
There's the Carolina Bowl. There's the Carolina
Bowl. Go back to the Mecklenburg. They need separate games. I'm sorry. I'll be the one saying.
You don't like the
no, because you have the unfortunate circumstance in some of those situations of guys that shouldn't be on that field in certain places. You've seen it. It's getting worse. I'll be the guy. Hey, at Coach Jay Grice on Twitter. This needs to be a Mecklenburg game. Have one for Cleveland and Gaston, Iredell and Union County. I've been saying it. We need the Charlotte East versus West game. It's starting to lose a little bit of its luster. Shout out to all the guys that made it.
We'll have Bobby Collins on the show, and we'll put you and Bobby on the 2-shot. Y'all can go at it.
Oh no, I love BC. BC's great, but I just think it's great to expand the game. But I do think it's something that was the
County
Metro Bowl in Columbia. It needs to be the Nate Leach Charlotte
County championship.
And Coach Hales, Butler is going to be coaching in an all-star game. It's kind of a north versus south situation up in Gaffney as well. And also today, the Southwestern 4A all-conference team came out. All that stuff's on our website, the Charlotte Observer. Jump on it. And got a great weekend of football. We're going to catch you guys next week with another big show. Hopefully, we're going to trim down the Mr. Football list maybe.
Hey, Langston, I got to ask you, if Grice gets his wish for a Mecklenburg County East versus West all-star game, can you make the arrangements for Grice to film the advance promotional commercials at Charlotte Latin, just like the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl?
Yeah. we can work that out. All right, yeah, we're real heavy. I'm Langston. That's Sam Greiner, the coach of West Charlotte High School. That's my good friend Gary Richmond.
Go Lions.
You guys got to follow Gary on Facebook to get his tales from the classroom about the forgiveness. You got to go to his Facebook.
Don't tell these people that. Gary
he can write a book.
Stop.
You're trying to get me fired,
right? Coach Grice and Valley Creek. Good luck up in the mountains. my man Alex Bastican-Cherian, and the great Chris Hughes, the #1 voice of high school football in North Carolina. And we are Talking Preps.
Busting them brackets, baby.
Write a book.
Busting brackets.